What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I'm going to be breaking down what's going on with Tesla stock, why it broke down the way it did, in my opinion, what technicals are now suggesting for it moving forward, what the news is saying about it, and what I do predict to happen to it as we go into next week. But before I break anything down about what's going on with Tesla, before I talk about whether or not I think the bottom is in, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm firstly not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends very soon, in just about 2 weeks, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with Tesla. So, when it comes to Tesla, guys, I was talking about how there was likely going to be some kind of sell off coming to the stock, in my opinion. And what ended up happening was we got this really, really big sell off today. I wasn't really expecting it to be this crazy. I was thinking it would like break below 250 maybe, and maybe get very close to 245 if we end up breaking down that low. But then it ended up going all the way down to like 242, which is pretty insane. But the question is, why did this happen? What signals did I look at to cause this? That led this to potentially happening, and what pieces of news just came out? So that's really what the question is for a lot of people. But the reason why I was talking about downside, excuse me, for all these different reasons for Tesla was because of technicals and also because of other factors. So the first factor would be the fact that Tesla had a bearish divergence on the 4-hour time frame. Also on the 30 minutes time frame, we saw the same thing developing. We had a triple bearish divergence on the 30 minutes. If I just zoom out all the way, you guys could see it. And I do apologize if it's kind of small, but you guys could see it quite clearly. If you look at the MACD and the RSI, both of them were trending downwards despite the three tops that Tesla was making. So this was a triple bearish divergence, and this was signaling that a downside move was likely coming. I also wanted to factor in like Apple. Apple looked to me like it was topping, and because Apple was not pumping as hard, this would likely cause the market to not just slow down, but with the exhaustion forming and the market looking more and more tired of pumping as time went on, this was due to just slow down. If you just look at Apple, it was just very sideways. And then I also looked at the QQQ and factored in the fact that Amazon could get some kind of rejection alongside the dollar breaking out. We were talking about that too. All these things were pointing in the direction of a slight sell off to come. Now, what happened to SPY was we kind of gapped up. I also called that out, a gap up with the unemployment data before we sold off. And that is what happened to SPY. We sold off for almost the entire day. We basically gapped up and then just slowly sold off, bounced a little bit, and sold off even more. But we're looking more bearish on the 4-hour time frame when it comes to the MACD. On the daily chart, it's looking not as strong as before, and then the other time frames are showing the same thing. I also told you all that the QQQ would likely see some downside, a little pop, then some downside to like 380 or so. It went all the way up to about 381. Now there is that gap at 382, so we could see like one more little pop to fill the gap before this thing starts to downtrend. But all of this is going to be dictated by Apple at this point, and I think Apple may start selling off very soon. I'm going to talk more about these different tickers a little bit later on tomorrow, but for now, I just want to mention that there was this bearish divergence on the QQQ, and I thought this would sell off too. So all of these, technicals were pointing in the direction of a similar move as Tesla, some kind of sell-off coming. And then on top of that, I was a little bit worried that this news that came out about the new Tesla, variant of the Model 3, the Highland, could be like more of a like buy the rumor, sell the news kind of event. If that's the case, and if that were the case, I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if that would have led that to happening. That's what I was kind of like hinting at towards yesterday. But once again, I didn't really know about the price cuts at the time when I talked about the potential downside with which the technicals were suggesting. But then all of a sudden, this news came out that Tesla significantly cut its prices for its Model S and the Model X. And this was some very, very big news because we saw like 15 to 19% cuts for their prices. And they were basically doing this to offset the backlog in inventories that formed. So, with the very significant price cuts, when you look at Tesla's overall inventories, the Model Y inventories were very, very high. We have about 6,200 almost as of today. So, that's pretty crazy for them. And just look at the chart from like the entire year. It was never this crazy. So, the Model Y seriously needs some price because they need to bring back demand. Demand is clearly slowing down. Now, with demand slowing down, we started to see the Model 3 inventory levels at the lowest, and the Model S ended up getting a bit of a drop with the cuts announced. But for the Model Y, it still is relatively high. We're hoping that we see some difference for the time being, and it's not looking too great for Tesla, just to be honest with you all. Now, is it the end of the world? No, it's not the end of the world whatsoever. Tesla is going to recover, guys. We have the Cybertruck coming out very soon. We have new innovations coming, new models to be announced, and new gigafactories. I'm still very, very bullish for the long term. But for now, I just want to mention that these high inventory levels, they had to do something about this. That's why Tesla had to slash their prices. And they just happened to announce it near the same time that the Highland ended up being announced too, the new variations of the designs. So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I mean, there's nothing we can really do about this. So with the new Highland, I just want to call out that it looks very, very nice. I really love the way that the LED lights are looking. They look very, very cool. I think the design looks very, very sleek, and I'm very excited to see what this could bring when it comes to buyers. So it looks very nice, this updated version. And with that going on, what I found kind of suspicious for Tesla, though, was the fact that when you look at its short interest, we suddenly saw a lot of shorting over the last couple of days, a big increase in the shorting. I was a little suspicious of that as well right before this big event. So, all of these different indicators led to a confluence of bearish signals, and it made me suggest that we might see some downside very, very soon for the stock, especially if 255 ended up breaking. So now the question is, how is Tesla looking? Could Tesla get some kind of bounce or not? Well, there's a possibility that thanks to Apple, and I called out that Apple has that unfilled gap at uh, the 190 area. So if Apple were to get a bounce there, like a very, very small little bounce to fill that gap, there is a possibility that we could see a little rebound in the markets. But then the problem is Apple looks absolutely exhausted on the 4-hour time frame. It also has a triple bearish divergence. So there could be one little bounce left for it before this thing starts to downtrend. And I do believe it's going to downtrend very, very soon. I will talk more about Apple tomorrow, but I just want to note that Apple could affect Tesla big time, and this could have a big effect on the whole market. So here's the thing about Tesla. How on earth are we looking? Unfortunately, it looks more bearish still, and there is no true signal, in my opinion, that Tesla has bottomed. There's no signal because we don't truly know what the market structure is looking like just yet. And let me explain. So the market structure right here, back here, right? This was bullish before, right? Tesla made this new high right here, came down, higher low, new high, higher low, new high as this thing just continued to break out. Then the market structure was still kind of like stationary, a little bit more bullish still technically, because we made like our high here, this low, another high, another low, another high, and the higher low after that. So it was still kind of uptrending, but while this was happening, we became not only overbought for one period of time, but we started to see very strong looking bearish divergences, which made me think that this thing is going to reverse very soon. So I was expecting this thing to like tank either for like Friday or for Tuesday, the next upcoming trading day. And if anything it ended up happening from here, and I told you if we broke 255, that would be the key level because we had this very like sideways stationary range right here, right? We were stuck between 255 to 260, going back and forth and back and forth, and this ended up breaking. So that was our signal. This thing was going to get that rug pull out. Now, with this happening, Tesla broke below the 200 EMA, and then this was the next critical level I was talking about. This resistance right here was around 245. I was thinking Tesla should try to hold very close to this. It went a little bit lower before it bounced right back off that 242 level. I also told you that if we broke this, then you're going to be watching 242, and that is where Tesla bounced off of. But I was honestly thinking that Tesla would try to base like very close to this area. So it was very close, but still quite weak, especially because Tesla broke this support right here. So this previous resistance became support. And this was the breakout area. Tesla should have held this. We did break below it, which is a bearish signal. For that reason, like I said before, there's no true signal that Tesla has bottomed. And we're going to be watching to see what happens as it makes an attempt to bounce. Now, we're going to be watching the market structure, meaning we're going to be watching which direction Tesla goes. Do we make lower highs and lower lows? If that's the case, then Tesla's most likely going to continue to downtrend. I think the odds favor that because we had such aggressive selling with all the shorting going on with Tesla, 38 million more shares shorted on Tesla than usual. That was no surprise in my opinion. I also called out the amount of Tesla shares being shorted yesterday. I think it was yesterday or the day before. But anyways, now this could be formed kind of like a flag, but I think that depending on Apple, we could see a little rebound, a retest of like 248 to 250, but then a rejection, and it could just start selling off to this imbalance down here. This imbalance would take this thing all the way down. It's about 237 to 238. I think that this area could be tested. And then specifically, 240 to 238 has a lot of like sideways price action historically. So, this range down here below 240 seems very probable Tesla is going to test that. Now, there's another case you can make for this thing to potentially be forming like a giant head and shoulders, where this is like the left shoulder, this is the head, and then we could just get a flush straight down, to like 238, and then we get the bounce. There are two possibilities. Either way, it just suggests that Tesla is looking more bearish depending on how we open. It does look like this thing is going to just downtrend more. And the news that comes out over the weekend or even on like Tuesday morning is going to determine if this thing tries to go for the bounce immediately and then it starts selling off maybe a little bit later because of external pieces of news and also because of the whole market from SPY and the QQQ and SPX and etc. selling off, or if it's going to be just an immediate sell off to this low before we try to bounce, right? It depends on the news and other factors. The bottom line is Tesla looks more bearish. The structure has shifted, and if anything, this move was predicted by me. It was predictable technically. And from this point on, I'm telling you that there could still be a lot more downside coming, or at least quite a bit of downside. I'm going to give you guys more details about this by talking about Apple for tomorrow, but just want to cut this video short since it is the weekend. It's about to start, and I just want the best for everyone. So thank you all so much for listening. There is no true sign that Tesla has truly bottomed just yet, to be honest with you. Could this thing establish, an attempt to bounce? Yes, but we have to watch the market structure. And this imbalance right here is trying to suck Tesla to this lower level, all the way down to like 237 to 238. This zone seems very probable to be tested, in my opinion, now. And it's looking more weak, just to be blunt with you. All right, so that's the case, at least as of right now for Tesla. Whether we go straight down to that level or if we kind of like push up a little bit and then slowly just downtrend with the market for the next couple of trading days, whether or not that happens depends on the news and whatever comes out in the morning. But the bottom line is the odds do favor more downside and these imbalances to get filled. When you look at the 4-hour time frame on Tesla on here, I'm going to pull up the 4-hour without any like other indicators. You will notice that we have this big imbalance at about 238, 237 to 238. This is acting as a magnet. Like I said before, we're either going to just come all the way down there, then try to bounce, or we just bounce a little bit first and then we come down to about 238. So it's very possible there's more downside coming. The odds do favor that. The trend looks weak on the 4-hour time frame on the MACD. The daily is also not looking that great. It's starting to curl on the daily, looking a little bit weaker. So it's looking weak all around, unfortunately. This was a very bearish looking candle. And we're going to be watching to see if it gets a break and a hold below 244. If that's the case, you're going to be watching 242. And then, if it breaks below 240, then we're going to be sinking down to like 237 to 238. All right, those are your very important supports. It looks more bearish. And I will talk more about Apple for tomorrow. But until then, I just want to thank you all so much for listening. And just remember, the market is going to be closed on Monday for Labor Day. Okay? When the market's closed, I'm still going to be releasing videos, but we have some time to just chill and enjoy life. And until I see you guys again, take care. And I'll see you guys once again tomorrow for the next video. Thank you and peace